Could a system near Mexico develop into something bigger?
The general movement of this system still uncertain for now.
After the storm, flooding rains and pounding surf leave behind a big mess.
The roads need to be accessible for emergency access vehicles.
Flakes are flying across some western mountains. Now there's word this year's fire season could have a lasting impact on winter.
You will probably see maybe the snow melt off a little bit earlier.
Why efforts to predict large earthquakes is still very much an inexact science.
20 to 30 earthquakes a day in Southern California, on the order of 50 earthquakes a day in the state.
And the moon, earth, and sun put on a sky show last night. We have the video for everyone who missed it.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. We're tracking two areas in the tropics this morning. One is far out in the Atlantic Ocean. The other is much closer to the United States, especially the Gulf Coast. Meteorologist Jen Collins has details.
Out in the central Atlantic could redevelop as of right now. It has about a 60% chance as it moves into the into the portions of the northern Atlantic across there. And then a little closer to home, this area we're watching as of just last night has a 20% chance of development at this time, and a low pressure area could develop in the western Caribbean here. Now, the general movement of this system still uncertain for now. What we do know is that deep tropical moisture will start to plume in this general area. And if the trends continue, we could see some of that moisture work its way towards the Gulf of Mexico. Now, whether something develops or not, as of right now, we are looking at potential for much higher rain chances heading into late next week and into next weekend. So something to keep an eye on for now. We have a lot of time to watch that general area. The next name of the season is Helene.
And in the plains, there's a slight chance of severe storms later today. The greatest risk is that narrow strip across portions of Minnesota, South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska. A slightly lower threat extends from the border all the way to the Texas Panhandle. Severe wind gusts and isolated large hail are the greatest threat. Eastern North Carolina is still cleaning up following Monday's storm that never fully became tropical and therefore never got a name. The high winds and rough surf were strong enough anyway to move a lifeguard tower. Erosion swept sea turtle nests into the ocean, and flooding left many streets underwater. Elena Laster reports.
Emerald Isle was hit with several inches of rain, causing flooding throughout the town.
The roads need to be accessible for emergency access vehicles, and also, just for other safety reasons, public health reasons.
Erin Bryan Mullish is the North Carolina Recreational Water Quality Program Manager. She's advising people to stay out of the floodwater as they pump it back into the ocean.
It will be up until they are done pumping and up to 24 hours after. And we do that because of the tidal cycle.
Officials are urging people to stay out of the floodwater until they can get it cleared. They are testing it, but the water likely contains high levels of bacteria.
Skin rash, urinary tract infections, ear infections, those kind of things can be a problem from swimming in contaminated water.
Town manager Matt Zapp says they have several pumps working as fast as they can to clear the water. He was not available for an on-cam interview, but in a phone call, he said they are seeing a bigger impact here now than they did during Debbie.
And it's not just local streets that bore the brunt of the storm. This is U.S. Highway 17 near Wilmington, North Carolina, the major thoroughfare. Part of the road was still submerged yesterday, more than 24 hours after the rain stopped falling. And fall doesn't start until this weekend, but it's already starting to look like winter in parts of the West. Snow fell on Mammoth Lakes, California yesterday, and today there's a winter weather advisory for the region from this afternoon through tomorrow evening. Another 2 to 4 inches of snow could fall in the mountains above 9,000 feet. And in Utah, the Snowbird Ski Resort posted this video of its first snow of the season. They have time to build a base as the slopes don't open until Thanksgiving. And speaking of snow, this winter's snowpack could be impacted by the summer's devastating wildfires. One example is the Davis Fire near Reno, Nevada. The flames are now mostly contained, but the repercussions will be felt into this winter and beyond. Elizabeth Mitchell reports from the scenic Mount Rose Highway.
when the snow hits the Davis Fire burn scar, the snow will actually melt a lot quicker, and that's because the burn scar is going to be absorbing most of that moisture. I'm going to take you to a look now, though, of what it's looking like right now off of Mount Rose Highway. All of that burn vegetation is going to be absorbing that snow, meaning that it's going to be melting a lot quicker this winter. Not only will the snow melt quicker than usual, but the burn scar will also impact the water quality of the snowpack. Officials say the charred trees will shed a black carbon and burn debris onto the snowpack this winter. The burnt materials could make their way into streams and eventually into reservoirs, leading to blackened waters. The black water could be hard to sort and clean out of potential drinking water in our area. The snowpack, though, is going to be crucial for the environment because water and snow help the vegetation grow back after fires like the Davis Fire.
I don't think fires are going to induce drought, but you will probably see maybe the snow melt off a little bit earlier. Now, the fire was in kind of the lower part of the snow zone for the most part. I mean, where the snow falls and melts off pretty early anyways. So we might not see any really significant effects on the water supply in that area.
Nolan goes on to say, though, that the Galena forest may never go back to the way it was before this devastating fire. They say they've done research on past wildfires, and even after 2 decades, they never fully recovered. Good news is, though, Nolan does say that due to the winds of the Davis Fire, there should be no impact on the waters of Lake Tahoe.
It's a record Phoenix residents are glad to see broken for the first time in months. The high temperature in the city was below triple digits. Tuesday's high only reached 93 degrees. The last time the high temperature was below 100 was on May 26th. That's a streak that lasted 113 days. The previous record was 76 days back in 1993. Now, much of the country was able to catch last night's partial lunar eclipse. Lunar eclipses happen when the sun, earth, and moon line up so the earth's shadow appears on the moon. Nearly 9% of the moon was covered by the shadow. It was also a supermoon, making the moon appear slightly larger in the sky. This partial eclipse is just one of several types of lunar eclipses. Meteorologist Greg Bobos explains them.
The harvest moon is the September full moon. The Earth has to get directly between the sun and the moon to block out the natural light and to give it that bright red color. So here's what you have when it comes to lunar eclipses. There are 3 kinds. You have the total one where the entire moon ends up turning red and get that bright color. You have a partial where part of that shadow hits just enough of the moon to give a little red hue. And then you have a penumbral, which just means that it doesn't hit it at all. Our next total lunar eclipse will be in March of next year.
Meteorologists use various tools to help craft better forecasts for you. Kit Alexander explains how using water vapor imagery helps predict how much rain is expected to fall.
When it comes to rain chances and how much rain will fall, meteorologists have several tools to analyze the atmosphere. For instance, satellite data and radar are used to determine what is currently happening in the troposphere or the weather layer. We use weather balloons to analyze the current weather at different heights, and supercomputers take this data to model weather conditions in the future. One of my favorite tools uses satellite images of water vapor in the atmosphere. This is known as water vapor imagery. Just as temperature varies with height, so does water vapor. Higher amounts of water vapor in the low and mid levels of the atmosphere can correlate with more rain. As many of you know, the amount of water vapor that air can hold is dependent on the temperature. Warmer air holds more water vapor than colder air. As water vapor condenses, it releases heat into the atmosphere, which will fuel showers and storms by providing the energy needed for air to rise and form clouds. In conclusion, analyzing water vapor imagery allows meteorologists to have a more complete picture of the atmosphere and to make better forecasts.
And speaking of forecasts, let's check the weather in some cities across the country today. We begin in Philly, where skies are mostly cloudy. Occasional rain showers are possible with highs in the mid-70s. Next, a look at Chicago, Illinois, where there are areas of patchy fog this morning. Clear skies and highs will be in the low 80s. Heading south to Dallas, Texas, where things are mostly sunny this morning, but it's going to be a hot one with highs in the upper 90s. And we finish off in California and a look at Los Angeles, where skies will be partly cloudy today and highs only get into the mid-70s. Coming up on the National Weather Desk, Eastern Ohio is experiencing record drought. We'll look at how it's impacting farmers across the state.
I'm meteorologist Emily Stanton. Let's take a look at highs for the Northeast for today. Definitely more warm the further you are in New England, even in the Northeast. We're looking at 78 degrees for Portland for today in Maine, 84 up in Caribou, 83 over in Syracuse, New York. A little bit cooler down in New York City. We're looking at 73 degrees, 72 down in southern New Jersey. And taking a look at our storm tracker, partly to mostly cloudy in southern New England. Over in Pennsylvania, seeing some rain, clear to our north.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Your Wednesday is going to keep the rain chances around, especially towards Virginia. Across Maryland, even up through Pennsylvania, we're going to be looking at least clouds likely. And we'll keep the rain chances around through your Wednesday and possibly into Thursday, especially if we get a new area of low pressure to form. We'll see those showers lingering around. Now, temperatures will be cooler anywhere we have all the rainfall, but even with the mostly cloudy skies, we could look at temperatures in the 80s.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. Here is a look at your highs for this afternoon. Highs in the 80s, low 70s in Asheville as a result of those showers and storms still sitting over that area. And then we climb into the 90s rather in South Florida. Over the next few days, we are expecting isolated showers associated with a frontal boundary to stick over northern Florida, also increasing the rain chances in South Florida for the next few days. Also, remnants of potential tropical cyclone 8 continues to bring showers and storms to the Carolinas.
By the National Weather Desk.
Summer's still here, fall's around the corner, but it's not too soon for a winter preview at this ski resort in Utah. A different type of precipitation. This cloud produced an intense shaft of rain in Key West, and this looks like a good moon on the rise, casting its light across the Tennessee River earlier this week. Same thing goes for this moon view over Mount Hilchuck in Washington State.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Livestock farmers are struggling in eastern Ohio. Parts of the state are deep in drought. Jamie Ely reports.
Spring saw heavy rain hit the Ohio Valley. The exact opposite is happening now. Eastern Ohio is experiencing a drought to levels not seen since the late 1980s, something that is affecting the agricultural community.
We're in what we consider an exceptional drought now. We're in a D4 is what's classified by the U.S. Drought Monitor in Harrison County, a little bit in Jefferson County, and then there's 22 counties total. We've been having a lot of conversations with a lot of people, and especially livestock producers who are really struggling with feeding hay and finding hay, and also having a problem with water.
The main problem, as Jones points out, is the fact that water is drying up, causing the once verdant pastures and water sources to become dry. This causes farmers to have to bring in supplies from the outside.
I know a lot of farmers in my district have been hauling water since middle of July, and a lot of them are hauling water and feeding hay. So, it's a real struggle for a lot of our livestock producers, and our crop farmers are hurting as well because their crops were, obviously short of rainfall.
The concern for Jones is, if the problem continues, surrounds the sourcing of water for farmers.
We are looking at ways to try to find other sources of water so they don't have to buy it, because what happens if we don't get much rain in the next 2 months and our public water systems start to be compromised? We don't want that to happen, so we're actively looking at alternative ways of finding water.
In Alabama, drought is much less of a problem after Tropical Storm Francine passed over the area. Meteorologist Evan Chikvara looks at the numbers to see just how much of a drought buster that tropical system was.
Well, it's no surprise that we needed the rainfall, and we certainly got a lot of it here. We start with our regional totals. In some spots, getting upwards of 8-9 inches of rainfall all across the southeast to get beneficial rain. Let's take a look at what we had here more locally, and this is the last several days as Francine moved through. And a little pocket here in parts of Winston, Coleman, as well as Walker County, seeing an excess of 7 inches of rain. This is drought breaker type rainfall, so this was good. Some of us saw too much in a short amount of time, but you get the idea here. It was a lot of rain. Some spots a little left out. You saw southern Greene and Hale County closer to only about an inch of rain. Let's look at the rainfall up to date as of today across the state. And you only see 2 areas, Birmingham as well as Mobile, at a departure. But that is still much better than we were. Our drought monitor, as of last Thursday, was showing all of the state, of course, in some level of drought, several areas in a severe drought. This will be updated on Thursday, but no doubt will show improvement.
And since the start of the year, there have been about 13,000 earthquakes in California. Many felt the one that struck Southern California last Thursday. However, experts point out that the yearly stats are not great at predicting if a large earthquake is on the way. Myra Franco has more.
We've had a number of earthquakes since the beginning of the year.
No kidding. In fact, a record-breaking number, according to Robert DeGroot, Shake Alert Operations Team Lead for the U.S. Geological Survey. DeGroot says earthquakes happen more often than we feel them.
We have an order of 20 to 30 earthquakes a day in Southern California, on the order of 50 earthquakes a day in the state.
Take a look at Earthquake Alert's Twitter page based on the USGS data. It reports each time an earthquake hits worldwide. The page is constantly updating with new rattles. This year, we're seeing a record-breaking number of quakes in California. DeGroot says since the year started, we've had 14 of them with a magnitude of 4 or higher. The average for this time of year, around 8. The latest one felt by millions in Los Angeles, followed by a number of aftershocks.
This last Thursday near Malibu, which really close to millions and millions of people. In fact, that earthquake alone, there were in the order of 4 million alerts delivered to people's phones.
He recalls the last time we had a pretty big event in 2019.
On July 4th, we had a magnitude 6.4 near Ridgecrest. And then it was followed literally the next day on July 5th by the magnitude 7.1 earthquake. Those are going to happen. They don't happen very frequently, but when they do happen, they do shake the region up.
He says about 5% of the time a bigger quake will happen within a week of the first rattle. Then the chances are lower after that.
In Oregon, an invasive beetle is targeting ash trees. Allison Gutliber reports that the Oregon Agriculture Department says there are only 3 options when it comes to trying to limit the spread of the emerald ash borer.
Ash trees are popular in Portland. This map shows just how many are planted in Portland, nearly 100,000. And they're at risk because of an invasive beetle in neighboring counties.
We are the 36th state to detect emerald ash borer, and it will kill every standing ash tree in Oregon unless you take action to stop it.
The emerald ash borer was first found in Washington County just a few years ago. Now it has been located in Marion, Yamhill, and Clackamas counties. The Oregon Department of Agriculture is making plans to protect the trees and slow the spread.
We are working with closely with the Department of Forestry as well as USDA and, of course, our local partners on the ground here.
Dr. Max Ragazzino, a biocontrol entomologist, says they are putting restrictions on ash wood, meaning it's illegal to move ash from county to county. He also says they plan to treat trees, making them poisonous to the beetle.
You can see all of these V-shaped exit holes. This indicates that emerald ash borer is infesting under the bark. Each one of those beetles can produce 200 offspring. Each offspring digs these tunnels right beneath the bark. Tunnels begin to overlap like this, which kills the tree.
Now, have you ever heard of orographic lifting? Meteorologist Teresa Carter explains what it is and how it works.
There are many ways for air in the atmosphere to rise, but the most efficient way is orographic lift.
Now, orographic lifting is when wind hits a mountain and is forced to rise over the mountain. As the air rises and cools, clouds form and serve as the source of precipitation. Now, very heavy precipitation typically occurs upwind of a mountain range that is oriented across a prevailing wind from a warm ocean. The opposite side of the mountain ridge is called the leeward side and usually sees much less precipitation. Now, some precipitation falls a short distance downwind of the ridge and is sometimes called the spillover. The reason the leeward side sees much less precipitation is because air is descending on this side of the mountain, and descending air is warmer and drier.
And it's time now for a short break, but first we have a preview of what's to come with a look at last year's fall foliage in Oklahoma.
Well, a very good Wednesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sandra Buck-Michael. We have some rain trying to move its way in from the plains for the day today, but the rest of the Midwest and the Great Lakes looking pretty sunny today with temperatures warming back up today. That rain moves its way a little bit more east tomorrow, heading into Minnesota, also Iowa. And by the time that we continue on into your Thursday, it breaks up a little bit as it continues a little closer to the Great Lakes, and most of us pretty warm.
Good Wednesday morning to you. Meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with 60s and 70s, your out-the-door temperatures, some patchy clouds in central portion here of Texas. We head to the afternoon, mostly sunny skies across the region, very isolated chance of a pop-up shower thunderstorm around New Orleans, 88 degrees. Look for a high of 97 to Austin, Dallas around 95. Here's Thursday's forecast, really more of the same with a lot of hot sunshine across the region.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, it's starting to look and feel more like fall is knocking on the door. City by the Bay at 66, 88 out of Vegas, and 73 sounds just right out of the Treasure Valley in Idaho. Big disturbance curling into northern Montana today, and then we've got that little area of low pressure offshore going to give us some passing sprinkles through San Francisco and Carmel. And that's the scene from here.
The National Weather Desk.
What happens to rain when it moves into an area of dry air? Meteorologist Josh Kozlowski demonstrates using some common kitchen items.
Sometimes in the world of weather, pressure systems clash when they get closer together. For example, this bowl could act like a dome of high pressure. And come on in here with me, I'll show you a model. Here's some low pressure with some rain already going on. Imagine you are underneath the bowl and it's kind of protecting you, and a lot of times high pressure has very dry air. So when low pressure interacts with the high, sometimes it can deflect the rain or just simply dry up, as it will not be raining underneath the bowl as low pressure rain comes through the area. I know it's a crude example, but still one nonetheless. You can do this in your own kitchen with these kind of utensils to illustrate the world of weather in your own home or apartment. For the National Weather Desk and the Weather Authority, I'm meteorologist Josh Kozlowski.
Looking for some more exciting weather content just like this? Check us out on all your social media platforms. Search for the National Weather Desk, and we'll be there. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here tomorrow.